What's up, guys? Jason Guyman here tonight, and tonight I want to hit on a little bit about business failure and why do businesses fail? Why do some do amazing? And so that is what I'm really going to hit on tonight. I've been thinking about some different things, and I know that this is mostly going to be geared toward pressure washing, but it also works in the Christmas light business also. So that is what I want to hit on tonight. And so my biggest thing is I've been coaching this business I've been in this business and I've been coaching this business for almost a decade, over a decade now. And, I see a lot of people come into this business and I see a lot of people leave this business. And so tonight I'm in my new shop here. I finally got internet down here, so I'm trying it out. Hopefully you all can, it might be echoing, who knows, because I'm just getting set up and it's been trying to get internet and trying to get some other things going on down here. So I'm working on getting it set up. I'm excited. I got me a big Christmas tree here, so we'll be able to do trainings here. And I can't wait to help you all grow your business, right? And so the one thing that, as we have seen, again, my book of the week, I always like to give a book of the week. My book of the week this week is Endless Customers. I know I've been saying that book a lot. The reason why I've been saying that book a lot is because it is important that if you want to grow a business in 2025, you still need to do what the book talks about. And I know that this is what a lot of what we're going to deal with tonight is working on the business and not in the business, working on getting off the truck and doing these tasks that take you time, and that's what's going to separate you from being a real business that's going to stay legit and in business versus the business that you're just, working job from job and you're struggling and you're on the truck and, you're doing all of those things that you do as a business owner. And so this is what I want to hit on tonight as we go. So this weekend, it's been hot. I did boat patrol on Friday night, got to see the fireworks, the Reds fireworks. Every Friday night, the Cincinnati Reds always shoot all fireworks. It sucks that they lost, but it was pretty cool to see the fireworks over the Ohio River. So that's what I did this Friday. I've been working on this a little bit, trying to get some things done around here. So that's been my projects this weekend. And yes, I am going to shave here eventually. I was going to try to grow a beard, and I don't know, I think I'm going to shave it off. What do y'all think? Should I shave it off or leave it on? It's getting a little hot, but that is it. The name of that book is called Endless Customers. Endless Customers by Marcus Sheridan is who it's by. He wrote the book also, Never or Always Ask Whatever. They ask, you answer, and so that's what it is. So that's what we got. We got Jeremy Olson in the house. How are you doing? It's great seeing you on here tonight. We got Anthony. What's up? How are you doing? Marcus is legit, and so is his advice. He always answers his own emails, FYI. I love Marcus. I've seen him a couple times in person. He's a great speaker. He's passionate, and he definitely knows what he's doing. And so I really highly recommend his books. As we get into 2025 with SEO and different things, I see it more and more of how it is and what we do. So that is definitely important, so that way you can see and, because the whole book preferences is about making videos and making it easy for the customers and understanding these videos and how do you grow a business. And he will even say that this book isn't even for most people that is less than $1 million. And I agree with that, but it is to the point that if you want to be different and if you want to differentiate yourself from your competitors, this is a book that you need to go after, go watch, go listen, go learn, right? Learn and grow. You never have enough. So that is definitely something that you should do. Stay Bearded is that your new shop? Yes, it is. You can see the Christmas tree that I've got here that we will be doing. One thing I got to figure out is air conditioning, but it might be sweat and grow, right, baby? Sweat and grow. we're gonna lose some weight and learn all at the same time. No, I know you can't learn and be hot, so we got to figure out some AC options and see what we can do to help with that. But I'm excited for what we've got coming down the pipeline. So, hello, Renee. How are you doing? All right. So, this is what got me onto what made me start thinking about what I wanted to talk about tonight. I see a lot of businesses come into the pressure washing, eating Christmas light business, and I see the competition, and I always see people will say, there's just too much competition, there's too much. But here's what I will tell you, right? Most of the time, you will have the 2 or 3 competitors that are the ones that are still in business. Yes, you will see some come and some go just as fast as they come and just as fast as they go. And so what I will tell you is this is why it's important that we work on the business side of any business, whether it's pressure washing or Christmas lights. And the reason why it's important that we work on the business side, I know we love to work on equipment. I know we love to buy equipment. We love to buy chemicals. There's people out there selling us all the time, right? And people want us to buy their stuff. And here's the problem with that, is when we're buying their stuff and we're not paying attention to the other things that we need of what is growing our business. So in mentorship, one of the guys shared his numbers this week. He's a business doing $1 million a year. He's probably going to hit 1.5. And he had been doing mailers and truck reps, and he does Google ads and he does SEO, but there was only a few of the numbers that he kind of sent. And, the EDDM, he had spent $9,000 or $11,000 and brought in $27,000. He had vehicle wraps, and they brought in, what did they end up bringing in? They ended up bringing in like $6-7 grand, $10 grand, I think it was. And then he had yard signs, and they were brought in about $6 grand for 100 yard signs. And so a lot of times we see these big numbers, right? We see the big numbers of, man, these EDDMs are doing really good. And they might, and they do, but again, a lot of times we forget to look at the numbers. What is the ROI, right? And out of the 3 or 4 things he had listed, all those ROIs, which is return on investment, meaning that if we spend $10 in marketing, how much do we return, right? So if we spend $10 and it brings back $20, well, that's a 2 to 1, right? If we spend $10 and it brings out $30, that's 3 to 1. And so most of the investments that were there were a 2 to 1, 3 to 1 investment. And here's the thing, this is why I love when people start looking at their numbers. Because guess what the return on investment of yard sign was? It was 20 to 1. But yet we only put out 100 yard signs. Now, I get it. The yard sign return on investment was only an average ticket of $800, where the EDDM average ticket was like $1,700. So yeah, my average ticket is higher, but it also cost me a lot more to get that. And so this is the importance of why we start breaking down these numbers. And this is where businesses fail. They don't know their numbers. They don't know how much it costs to run a business. It doesn't matter if I'm talking Christmas lights, pressure washing, any business that you're in. Most business owners don't know their numbers. They run on this side of account. Money in, money out, and is there any left over? And that's how they run a business. They're like, yep, we got money in, and money goes right back out. I see it all the time. Yep, we made a $100,000 month, and $100,000 went back out, right? Money in, money out, hope for there's some left over at the end. And this is a way of reason why businesses go under, because they get to a point that they never put anything away. They don't know what to grow. They don't know what's bringing them business. And so this is why it's important that we do this. Here's the next thing that I see people do that make them fail is we come into spring, or we're coming into summer, right? And we can say that we're slow, right? We know that it's going to slow down, but what are you going to do to make sure that you do not slow down in the summertime? You know, you can be like Jeremy and do decks because you haven't been able to paint any decks this year because all it's done is rain. And so you can't paint decks when it rains. Normally, it doesn't rain in the summertime. I'm sure you've painted some, but you gotta be strategic when you're painting these decks because it's one of those things. And so we did decks for 2 years, and we didn't like doing decks. It was harder to scale decks, and so that's why we quit doing decks. And here's what we learned when we went to quit doing decks. Well, we'll raise our prices. Well, guess what? They kept buying. So we were at $5 to $6 a foot. We went to $8 a foot, and people are still saying yes. And then we went to $10 a foot, and people are still saying yes. And this was at the moment that I realized that people will pay, right? People will pay. The only reason why they won't pay higher prices is because you won't ask. And if you won't ask for higher pricing, you won't get it. That is a period. You know, if you're not asking for packages, in every package you offer, you should have a $2,000 offer. And if you're doing Christmas lights, you should have a $4,000 offer, because some people are going to say yes. Are everybody? No, but you don't need everyone. And then you have a $2,000 package, and then you have a $1,000 package, right? So this is why we have packages, so we can get the higher average ticket up. But this is what I learned from my failure of charging too cheap on these decks. And when I started raising my pricing, guess what? People still paid it. I made more money and did less work. Well, is that not going to help your business out? Because I have less expenses but make more money. Amazing how that works. Now, here is where people get in trouble. They don't believe in yourself. You are awesome. You are awesome. You can get a $2,000 pressure washing job. You can get a $10,000 pressure washing job. You can get a $100,000 pressure washing job. But you have to believe it yourself, because if you don't believe it, that you're worth that, you will never get to selling it because you don't believe it. And if you don't believe it, your customers aren't going to believe it either. And so this is the importance of why we need to make sure that we're actually running a business and we start figuring out our numbers. And here's the next thing, that back to what I was talking about, knowing your numbers. How much does it cost you to get a new customer? Why I see most people fail is because they won't spend money to get a new customer. Here's what they'll do. Well, Jason says yard signs work. Well, I put out 10 yard signs and 8 of them got pulled within 24 hours. Well, Jason, I told you yard signs didn't work in my area. Well, you only put out 10 and 2 of them are still out there making you money, but you went and pulled the trigger and said it didn't work. Well, when did you put these yard signs out? Well, I put them out on Monday. Well, that's why I tell you to put them out either Friday morning or Saturday morning. So that way they'll at least stay out 48 hours, right? They can get pulled on Monday. And that's when people are looking at them anyway. Or they will be like, Jason, I tried Facebook ads. Well, how much have you spent in Facebook ads? Well, I've only spent $500 and I never got one job. Well, what was wrong with your ad? I don't know. Well, that's the whole point of looking at, What do we have to do to test things to see what works and what doesn't work? Not everything that's going to work 100%. Some things are going to work better than others, right? And so these are the importance of why we need to make sure that we are looking at these things when we are trying to grow our business, right? Because it is important that as we look at these things, it will help us do a lot better in the end, right? And that's the whole point of why we want to do this for. So, pricing, right? I always hit on pricing. I think pricing is huge. Whenever I start coaching people, one of the first things I always usually say is raise your prices, because I know that you can get more than what you're asking. And here's the thing that I know about it, right? Is there a point that, yeah, we're going to lose too many customers? Sure, there is. But if you have a 50% close rate, a 60% close rate, 80% close rate, raise your prices, because you're losing customers at the bottom versus the top, right? And this is why we have to make sure that we raise our prices, because prices is definitely something that is very important, that we make sure that we are raising them. You know, a lot of times when I'm coaching people and people are scared to death of raising their prices is because they're afraid that they're going to lose more customers. And what they don't realize is you're racing to the bottom of the $99 guy. And you don't want to be the $99 guy. One, your business can't sustain on low margins, right? The bottom line is the most important line. And so that's why we want to make sure that we are doing that. And here's a big one, right? A lot of people have a hobby mindset versus a business mindset. Well, I'm just doing this to make extra money. And these people actually hurt your industry and business more than anybody, because they're like, I'm just doing this for beer money. Well, do you have the right insurance? Do you have the right plan? Do you have the right structure? And I guarantee you, you're not tracking your numbers, right? Because it's important that we treat this as a business and not as a hobby. And here is a reason that most businesses fail. This is the number one reason why most businesses fail, is they have no cash flow. They have no money coming in, or they have a big job come in, and next thing you know, you are sitting there going, what am I going to do, right? They're taking on debt. They're buying new equipment. They're bringing more employees on, and the cash flow isn't there. And so this is why it's important that we know when our ups and downs are. So that way, hey, maybe we don't hire now, or maybe we do, right? And so these are all of the things that we have to realize of what we are doing. And then here's another one that is a reason why we fail, especially in the pressure washing world. The pressure washing world, I see this 100 times over and over and over. And this is what it is. It's the equipment obsession. You will buy the newest thing. You will have all the equipment. You will be the best of the best, but yet you can't get jobs. I've told you all about my friend in Georgia, right? He bought a $20,000 trailer, $20,000 trailer. And then he was wondering why he couldn't get no business. So when he called me, he was like, I can't get no business. Well, I want to tell you something. A $20,000 pressure washing trailer is not going to get you business. I promise you, a $20,000 pressure washing trailer will not get you a pressure washing business. Because yes, it looks pretty, and yes, it's new, but that's not what drives customers. You know, some people always ask, Jason, when should I upgrade my equipment? You know, I got a 4 gallon a minute. Should I upgrade my equipment now? Well, let's get so busy that you actually need to upgrade your business, right? Let's get so busy where you can do that. Because, you know, I've talked to you about the guy from New York, right? And he was doing $160,000 a year with a 4 gallon a minute pressure washer, no hose reels, and a pump up sprayer to do roofs. And he was doing $160,000 a year. And he was giving very high average tickets because he didn't have jobs every day. And that's the key, right? We don't need jobs every day. A lot of times we start focusing on the gear. And here's the biggest thing I see people will focus on. They will focus on the gear and they will sell the equipment. And what I mean by sell the equipment is we have the best equipment, we use blah, 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 right? But you don't know what your customer's pain point is. You don't know why he's calling you or why she's calling you. And we assume that it's just because it's dirty. It might not even be that. It might be something else. They might be having a party. They might be having, the city is on them. So these are all things that we got to think different of why we have to focus on this, right? And so, one of the biggest things that I want to hit on tonight is what's holding you back, right? What is holding you back from growing your business? What's the one thing that you are focusing on that we need to have a mind shift? And this can be Christmas lights or pressure washing. I've seen things happen, and I'm gonna hit one on here, right? So I do audits for websites. I've been building some websites, and I've actually, Rick's site was one of my first one, and I've got a before and after of the grids of it, and it's starting to look really good. It was all 8s and 5s, 6, 7, 8s, and now it's starting to become into 1s, which is good, right? And so it is important that we start looking at our, what are we doing? I had a guy that he used a company that everybody always raves about. There's a group of people that always raves about this company, and this is like the third or fourth person that I've actually looked at their website. They're paying $200-300 a month, and it does nothing. It's a pretty website, but it's not ranking, right? So a pretty website doesn't mean that you're going to be ranking, and so that's the key of what you got to start thinking about. Mike Andy's 4L framework. Keep it simple. It's a cycle: liquid, leads, labor, and leadership. One is a bottleneck, right? And leadership is important. As we start growing a business and we start wanting to get bigger and wanting to grow out of a one-man truck and start hiring people, leadership is key. When I first started and having employees, somebody would do something stupid and I would get all upset with them and yell and scream. And that doesn't do no good because you didn't train them right? Extreme ownership is talking about not getting upset, not doing something stupid when something happens, right? I failed myself. I didn't teach them that well enough. I didn't teach them what they needed to do. So it's important that we teach them and make sure that we are taking care of our employees. I actually had this conversation the other day. Do you know your employees' love languages? Do you know their DISC profile? Do you know what they like and what they dislike? Because if we try to get someone to move with a hammer, it's not going to work very good, right? But if we know how to give them the right treat or the right, the pat on the back or the, congratulations, a lot of times that can help you out a lot, or a gift. And so these are the importances of knowing what we need to do to be able to grow our business. And that is why, it is important that you do this. If you don't manage your cash flow, it will kill your business fast. 100%, right? And it's like, if some of you like Dave, this is where Profit First comes into play, right? If you haven't read Profit First, I highly recommend Profit First, because Profit First talks about always making profit, right? And that's the bottom line. So a lot of people look at the revenue, and we're bringing in $100,000. You bring in $100,000, but you spent $90,000. You only have $10,000 left for you. So that's why it's important that we make sure we know what our cash flow is, so that way we can keep growing our business. I don't do pressure washing. It's funny how everything you talked about is true for most contracting businesses. I jacked my prices up about 2 years ago. I lose quite a few jobs over price, and that's okay. It's 100% okay, because now you make more money and do less work, and that's the whole goal of it, right? I, it's 100% true, and it doesn't matter if you do pressure washing or Christmas lights or any business. Any business I've talked to, I had a guy that I was coaching that did mulching, cutting down trees and stuff, and land clearing is what it is, land clearing. And when he started, his average ticket per day was he was doing $1,700 a day was what he was doing when he started my coaching program. And by the time I had him done, he was booked out for 2 to 3 weeks at $3,500. He almost doubled his average ticket by just 6 months of my coaching with him, because he started to understand of what he was doing by losing money, and then he couldn't advertise at the same time. And so this is why it's important that we look at that. But you think about it, right? A $1,700 day was his day with a $200,000 worth of equipment. That's how much the Bobcat, the head, the truck that pulls it, the trailer, $200,000 worth of equipment, making $1,700 a day. And then he came through here, and I helped him raise his prices, helped him get his systems in place, and now he's doing over $3,500 a day. That is what you can do, right? It's about growing, and it's about helping you to grow your business, because we assume that it's about being cheap, and what we learn is that just means we get cheap customers. And here's the thing, I was actually talking to Dan this week, and I've talked to in my group, and this is the thing about it, right? I always tell people that whenever you're doing big jobs, to post them, right? Make sure that you're posting them on LinkedIn. Make sure you get lots of pictures. If you ever get a big job, or you're always asking me questions about a big job, I will always tell you to go and get lots of pictures, because you want to show all your customers that you do big jobs. But I kind of had a light bulb moment. It's not to just show your customers that you can do big jobs. It's to show you that you can do big jobs, because you will have a mental shift in your brain that I did this job. That job took me 2 weeks, and that customer was super happy. Then it gives you the confidence to be able to say, I did that $100,000 job. You can be like old Benjamin, and he did a $175,000 job. And he can be like, I did this building right here, right? I did this job. And that's the key, that it gives you the confidence, and that's why I tell you to take lots of pictures. That's why I tell you to do this, because once you start believing that you can get these big jobs, you will get more big jobs. And here's the reason, another reason. This is why we don't put little trailers on our website, because that is our mindset, that we do these little trailers. We do these nasty, dirty homes. We don't want the nasty, dirty homes. We want the clean homes. I have a person that I wash their house a lot for my local people here, that when I have a training, and they were like, man, this is a great neighborhood. I'm like, we never did one house back in here. Why? Because it's not a great neighborhood. All the houses are dirty. Yep, they're all dirty. You're right. They're dirty for a reason. We don't want dirty houses. We want clean houses. So that's what we want. We want clean houses. We don't want dirty houses. We want clean houses. And so that's the point of what I wanted to hit on, is finding out who is your customer. And this is back to working in the business. When you can find out who is your customer, and you go look at your customer database. This is your working on the business this week. This is what I want you to do. I want you to go find your top 5 paying zip codes. I want you to see which zip codes have made you the most money out of all of your business. And now this is going to take some time, and you can do it, but this is what's going to set you apart from your competitors, right? because those are the areas we need to really hyper target and market. Because when I can look at my customer and I know where they live at, I know where they go to school at, I know what they drive, I know what they do, I know how much money they make, now I can go find more people just like that person. And when I find more people like that, that is when we set it apart and be different from our customers, right? And from our competitors. And so that's why we want to make sure that we are doing it that way. So, what's your all's questions? I definitely want to hear some of your questions. I need to keep my foot on the gas for marketing. I thrive off referrals and past customers, but now it is slow. That's why we got to do marketing, because our referrals and our stuff is going to slow down, and that's why we got to do that. So, one of the things, I've got two things. We got amazing training coming up this weekend for Dallas for Christmas lights. If you're looking to get into Christmas lights, or if you want to grow your business in Christmas lights, you want to learn how to do systems better, you want to figure out ways to teach your guys better. If you want to get more commercial work, that is where you need to be at. ChristmasLights.io/IPT for in-person training. That is where you want to be at. It is going to be awesome. You're going to learn all kinds of great things, and you're going to get a lot of good information to help you keep growing your business, right? And then the next one is that isn't it? That's not it either. I haven't done. This is my other account. I'm on my laptop still. I got to get my stuff set up. But if I'm also having a Christmas or a pressure washing training, 2-day training to help you get started. So if you want to learn more about marketing and systems and how to start pressure washing, I'm going to have a 2-day training. 1 day is all hands-on and learning safety, chemicals, all the dangerous stuff that you can get into, and then we'll do some building washing and concrete cleaning and showing you how to do it. And then the second day is all about marketing, how to do better marketing, how to get close more jobs. And this is going to be August. It's going to be a Thursday, Friday. It's August 20th. I think it's the 20th and 21st, or 21st and 22nd. I don't know. It's that Thursday, Friday. If you go to kpwtrain.com, that's kingofpressurewashtrain.com. So kpwtrain.com, that is where you can jump on there. You can go to King of Pressure Washer and find the in-person training also. Making quote templates in Jobler that are scripted and worded to provide value has been a game changer for our closing rate. Making a quote templates in Jobber that are scripted and worded to provide value, right? Because it's not about selling the paint. It's not about selling the house wash. It's about bringing value and what separates you from your competitors, right? That's what's different. That's what's going to make it better for you. It's not about we use this and we do this and we do that. That's not what we're talking about. How do we add value? What can we do to add value? Our goal in this business is make it simple on the customer. As easy as the customer can be is what we want. We want to make it easy for them. I love ResponsiBid. I wouldn't put a ResponsiBid on that form for nothing because it wants 27 questions. And again, I want to make sure that it's easy for my customer. My customer, I want it easy for them. I don't want to make it difficult. I want it easy for them, right? And so how do I make it easy? Well, I don't put 27 questions. I only give 3 or 4. I don't do things to make sure that it's hard for my customer. So it's all about making it easy. And this is what will separate you. I'm late. Start over. Just kidding. So what other questions y'all got? I want to hear some more questions from y'all. So what is your goal for what do you want to do this year that's going to separate you from your competitors? Let's see, Nathan Clark. When giving over the phone quotes or online quotes, what is your process? I know you need I know you use responsive bid, but I'd like an idea of how to upsell over the phone, online quotes without that. When giving over the phone quotes or online quotes, what is your process? So you can do it without responsive bid. Like I know you can do it with some of the other ones, Marquette, some different ones. You can do different line items. But some of the things that I would say is that you don't really want to give the price over the phone. That is something that if you try to give the price over the phone, it's going to be a little bit difficult to do it. I'm not saying that you can't give a price over the phone. I personally don't like giving the price over the phone because I can't build value and give them packages easy. I can give them 3 packages, rather they are on the in person, on the front line, whatnot. Responsive bid makes that easy because you can just break it into 3 packages. But there's other ways that you can do it. So I know Marquette has a thing that you can do 3 packages, right? It can be a package tier. And so this is why we want to offer these packages. We want to offer, hey, you called for a house wash, but you also need your windows cleaned. You also need your driveway cleaned. So package 1 is house, windows, and driveway. Package 2 is house and windows. Package 3 is just the house, right? So we are breaking it down to make sure that they don't know what all you can do. And that's why the book, They Ask You Answer an Endless Customer, is making sure that your customer understands what all you are going to give them. And this is why it's important too, that in the email series of when you start sending out the emails after the fact, that we're not just trying to sell every time. We're building that value, right? We are making a value tree. We're giving more and more value to that way that customer wants to buy from us so that they feel comfortable and they still want to buy from us. I love what you said about those homes are dirty for a reason. You are 100% right. I've seen it over and over and over. You know, I love when people are like, man, you just don't understand, Jason. This is my customer. I'm like, no, it isn't. But you know what? If that's what you have on your Google My Business, if that's what you have on your, if that's what you have on your website, if that's what you're posting all the time on Facebook, guess what? You're going to get more of those crappy houses. And those are not the houses that you want, right? You don't want that. You want the Dan and Lindy houses that are 20,000 square feet. Because when they see that you can do 20,000 square feet houses, guess what people with 20,000 square feet of houses are going to look at? They're going to look at your website. They're not going to look at the guy that is putting a trailer on their house, right? Oh, look at this amazing trailer right here. Nope, that's not what I'm doing. I don't want those people. Those people don't give you good money, right? Then they will complain more than anybody else. We are putting out more yard signs in 2025 with a twist. We will have 2 different designs. Clutter the intersection and beat the competitors to the punch. Yep. Thanks so much for doing these streams. They help me out a lot. My question is, if you feel like your area has been ran through with another company that does lights, what is the best way to compete? One, don't worry about your competitors. What are you going to do? What's your goals, right? Because when I worry about my competitors, it's in my mind, everything I think about becomes my competitor, right? And that's not a good feeling. That's not what's going to separate you. Because when I'm worried about my competitor, that's all I think about, then I'm always like, well, what are they doing? What can I do? What are they doing? And I'm not like, what can I do? What can I do to separate myself? Well, let's start with baby steps. I can go put out yard signs. I am going to put out and set the goal now, right? We're in July. How many yard signs are you going to put out? Are you going to put out 100? Are you going to put out 500? Are you going to put out 1,000? Are you going to be like David Hamill and put out 3,000? What are you going to do? Set that goal now. Not only set a goal, but take action, right? I know a lot of times we talk about goal setting, but goal setting doesn't get you where you want to be at. Taking action is what's going to grow your business. Have you gotten your Google My Business up? Have you added photos to your Google My Business? Have you started your YouTube channel? Have you started making videos about the Christmas light installer in Cincinnati, Ohio? Christmas light installer in whatever. Hanging lights outside in Cincinnati, Ohio, right? Have you started doing those videos? Have you read the book Endless Customer and start making all the videos that they suggest to make? That is what you got to start doing. Because when I'm not worried about my competitor and I'm worried about Jason's business, guess what happens? Jason's business grows. When I'm worried about Bob's business over here, Bob's business is growing and mine ain't doing nothing. And this is why it's important that we don't focus on other people's business. Do we need to see what they're doing every so often just to see, they went from 300 reviews to 500 reviews and we're like, what happened, right? What are they using? What are they doing? Let's break down look, every review has the customer or has their name. Look, every review has what location it is. Maybe that is something I need to do. And it is something that you need to do because the AI is reading that stuff. And so that's what we might need to look at. Or this is the problem, a lot of people will call and get how much is the price. Here's the thing, if you have a really good competitor, like an amazing competitor, then call and have the service done. See what the process is. What emails do you get? What phone calls do you get? What things that you can do to make yours better? Because if they call, because here's the thing, we focus on what we see out here. We don't focus on what we don't see over here. Do they follow up? How many follow-ups? Did they give me a quote really quick? How far in advance did they need me to be booked out? What did they do when they showed up? Did they just show up and put the lights up, or did they go through making sure that I'm happy and I'm going to get a review at the end? These are the things that we need to, if you want to focus on that. Don't focus on your competitors. When you start focusing on your competitors, it doesn't do you no good at all. I promise you. You can work with your competitors. Don't focus on your competitors. Who cares what they do? Who cares how much they charge? I don't care that I'm the highest guy and I'm charging $8 to $10 a foot. They just don't, they're going to be out of business. Here's how I know this was true. Jason Hefner started his business right around 2018, 19-ish. He was one of my first mentorship program. He signed up one of the first ones. And this is what he would always worry about his competitors. But you know what? All his big competitors that he thought was big have all went out of business. Almost every last one of them have went out of business. So he always thought they were so big and worried about them, and yet he was way bigger. When he goes to the bleach store, he buys twice as much bleach as they do because he thought those were the big guys. And that's the thing, right? This is why we focus on our business. This is why we build systems in our business. This is why systems are so important. What systems are you building in your business? Do you have a system so you can start hiring people? Do you have a system so you can clean the house the same every time? Or are you worrying about your competitor? Because when we worry about our competitor, we don't worry about ourselves. We're not worried about our own business. We're not focusing on what we can do. I can't change him for nothing. Only thing I can change is my output. Maybe I start posting more. Maybe I start running more blogs. Maybe I put some money toward Google AdWords. Maybe I'm going to go to 100 yard signs a week instead of 10 yard signs a week. Those are outputs that I can change. I can't change, so why do I need to worry about my competitor? Only outputs I can change is the ones I can change, and that's why it's important that we focus on what we can change and not what we hope that they're going to do or not do. Right. I was visiting family in another state and I called a company to give me a quote. They came and gave me only what I requested for a far less than what I priced. Yep, and that's why they will be out of business. Sad thing about it, if they knew, never gave me more options to choose from, only one price, and there were much more options to upsell. Meaning, if you go in person to quote different things you offer. You should quote everything you offer. If it needs it, you quote it. Because if you don't, that's all they're ever going to get. People don't believe that they can get more, right? And that's why it's important that we look at these things and we start seeing, hey, you know what? I can do this and I can do this. What are the worst they're going to tell you? No. But what if they tell you yes? Well, now you got $1,000 house wash, or maybe you got a $4,000 Christmas light in display because you didn't ask, and that's what happens when you don't ask. Nick, I was putting out signs on Friday, and me and a competitor got at the same intersection at the same time. Had a good laugh about it. And then you just put both signs there and say, have a great day, sir. That's awesome to meet you. Let's go eat for lunch, right? Let's go be friends. Here's the thing. You can be friends with your competitors, and they're not competitors at that point. Because here's what happened. You may need help with a job. They might be a little guy. I've got some people on this live right now that he feeds them work. He's got too much work for themselves, and he feeds them work because they're on the other side of the town that's closer to them, and it's a long way away from them, or it's smaller jobs that it's really not worth it for me to go out there to it. And so that's why I will send them more work. And so send them work. Don't be afraid to send them work. That's okay. You'll be surprised when you work with other people how that will help out everybody in the end. Google is predictable. I responded to my reviews and my phone calls went up. Keep up that profile in the way into shop do directions on maps daily. Yep. Use as much as you can, right? That's important. You should be answering every one of them. You should be answering every person that sends you a review. Looking forward to Dallas. Me too. I'm excited for Dallas. Dallas is going to be fun. You should sign up. If you haven't signed up, christmaslights.io/IPT for in-person training. You're going to learn a lot about Christmas lights. Google is tricky in my personal opinion. I've done everything, yet the ranking is iffy. If you ask me, I've done over 300 pictures. I do updates every 2 to 3 days. How many reviews do you get? Do those reviews have the location that you're in? Does it have the what they did, or does it just says Anthony is great? Because those reviews don't help you out very good at all in the end. So that's some things that you got to look at. I think it is disservice to a customer if you don't. You're trying to serve the homeowner the best you possibly can at the end of the day. Yep, it is. And it builds value that way, right? You're building value by giving them all. My customer interaction to my Google My Business seems minimal compared to when I see others post theirs. So, again, I'm going to have a training coming up. This is only my second one this year. I'm planning on having more now that I can have them here in my building here. That way I'm going to be building out a whole house over here for Christmas lights For pressure washing, we'll be doing pressure washing classes. I'll be doing them on different days instead of doing them all at the same time like I used to. So that way, if you come for pressure washing, you're coming for pressure washing. You're coming for Christmas lights, you're coming for Christmas lights. It is definitely important that if you want to learn and grow, that is important. What is your opinion on over-the-phone quotes? Do you feel like it is easier to negotiate and get the job in person if the person is hesitant? I don't necessarily want to drive to every quote. This is a personal preference up to you. I've got people that do in-person quotes, and I've got people that do online quotes. It's up to you, right? I know people that can close a lot higher in person. I know people that can close higher in line. It's really up to you and what you want to do when you're looking at your business. It really is. It's what do you, I didn't like talking to people. I did all online quotes, and we did very well, right? And so it's up to you of what you want to do. Pick one way and go after it. We sub work out to others in the area, and we can't get to it in a week or two. Be friendly with your competitors. You never know when you might need to know them. Yep. Or here's the other thing. I know people that will send a lot of business to the bigger companies. Over 50 reviews. I responded to all reviews, and for the most part, they mentioned the service. So it's a grind. It's a game. Proximity is a key factor of Google. So if you're not local to the area and your Google My Business is way over here, it's going to be a little bit harder. It's raining here now. If your website don't have the individual landing pages pointing to your Google My Business, those are all things that are going to point and help you on your Google My Business. But will you be doing pressure washing cleaning in Dallas? It's probably the closest you'll get to my area. We are only doing Christmas lights. So we'll be doing marketing, but only Christmas lights. Joey don't even do pressure washing. So he only does Christmas lights, landscape lighting, and large commercial work. So that's what he does. But other than that, I'm going to jump off here. Again, you can go check out KPW Train. The good thing about here in Cincinnati, I only live about 20 minutes from the airport. Is where I don't live. I live about 20 minutes from the airport. The building that I'm in now is about 15 minutes from the airport. And the hotel, if you pick up at one of the two hotels that is right next to the airport, I will come pick you up and transfer you back and forth, so you don't have to rent a car. All you have to do is get a flight here, get a hotel, and that's all you get. And then I will pick you up at 8:30, get back here, and actually I'll probably pick you up around 8:15 so I can get back here, and if other people come and waiting on me. But that's kind of what I am going to be doing. So if you want to learn, again, I hope to see you in Dallas. If you guys are showing up for Dallas, I am giving one away for free for Dallas. And if you haven't signed up for that, you can go into the Christmas Light group. If you go to christmaslights.io/group, and in that group, I've got a post in there where I'm giving one away for free tomorrow. So I'll probably be posting it again. But other than that, hopefully you all have a great night, and we'll see you all later.